Too many kids have been taught that the goal of high school sports is to achieve an athletic scholarship. Here's the truth. The goal of high school sports is to learn how to be a better person, a better teammate, a better communicator, and to enjoy being a teenager, something that you can never get back.
Welcome to the Coaching Life Podcast. My name is Pat Martin. I'm here with my...
Correction. Coach Pat Martin.
Coach Pat Martin, yeah. Still getting used to that, Coach. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Doing well. I'm just trying to keep up with all of the downloads and listens that we've had on our last episode where
are we at?
We broke the news. We didn't really break the news. We just talked about the news. Where are we at? As of this morning, I think it was like 114 or so.
So that's low.
Within a handful of days.
We've had episodes a lot more than that.
Well, we lost some listeners over the summer.
Yeah,
I think because we took a break, a little hiatus for a few months and didn't do anything. And then when you do that in podcasting, you don't ever gain them back.
It'll be a little easier this time around, I think, because we'll still be able to come to the studio. So.
Oh yeah,
I think that hurt us too, is not having the studio, because
you're right. You would think it'd be easier.
Well, you never invited me to your house or anything, so
I never did that. Yeah. Listen,
never
guys,
invited me to do a lot of things. I'll be honest with you.
Let me tell you right now,
I had to. This is the first coaching opportunity I've had in a long time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Let's go to that beachfront property out there in Arizona.
Shoot. Well, that's a whole nother discussion right now. I think there's some people that would actually buy some beachfront property there. Is there?
You could convince people it's there.
Oh shoot!
Boy.
Good stuff.
Yep. Well, we're gonna have a guest come on here today with us in the middle of our conversation. But we wanted to go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about him, or talk a little bit about an article that he wrote. Coach Mike Deegan was actually one of our guests on our podcast back on episode 49. Coach Deegan is the head baseball coach at Dennison University, just up there in up in Ohio. What's the little town there that university's in? We drove through it when we drove up to East Knox to watch a playoff football game.
You drove through it.
Yeah, and we actually played. We played the high school team that's there in that town. It's a really cool little town.
Gosh, how could we both forget Granville?
Granville, yeah. Real beautiful town, actually. Beautiful campus, beautiful baseball field. Coach Deegan has had a lot of success up there. He has written a book, and we brought him on to talk about his book.
Yeah.
Particularly, we talked through several chapters of the book, but particularly because we had already had a conversation based on one of the chapters that he wrote called "Parents Are Crazy."
Yeah. Speaking of a lot of listens, that was a
lot of listens. Yeah.
And kind of was drawn to,
and that's really sort of what led us to invite him to come on to talk about his book. Since we used his book to talk about that, and it became a really great episode, we invited him on. Well, Coach has a blog that he writes every week, I believe. And yesterday, so this would have been Monday, December 6th, the article that came out, I get these in my email, and the article that came out, when I read it yesterday morning, I sent it to you, Pat, and I said, here's what we need to talk about on our podcast this week.
Yeah.
And it was really, really provoking,
convicting.
I think. It was, it was very convicting. It was insightful. And we'll just tell you what it was about. The title of the article, it's under sports parenting, under his theme of sports parenting. He has a lot to say to parents about raising kids. He's raising his own kids in sports as well. And the title of the article is "Focusing on the Future Can Rob the Present." And even the title, in reading that, I thought immediately, okay, I've got to read this now. I mean, a lot of times I'll see his articles come in, and I'll make a note. I'll go ahead and finish what I'm doing in the morning and say I'm going to make a note to watch, to read this during lunch today or whatever. But I went ahead and read that article in the morning, and it was one of the best ones that I've read from Coach. And so we want to talk with him about it.
Yeah, it's great advice.
It is great.
You just that statement is the story, really.
It is.
He obviously there's a great article behind it, but I think we do that in life.
We're always looking ahead, and we miss out on the present moment experiences, the present moment lessons that happen in life. It is a I don't know. There's something in us. We almost feel guilty for not planning ahead, for not thinking about future goals and orienting all of our life towards those future goals.
Right.
And I do think that I think those two things can overlap. I think you can mix
Sure.
the two. You can have future goals, you can focus on those and still experience all the things that the present moment has to offer to you.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear Coach's thoughts on that here in just a little bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you incorporate future goals in the moment or in the day.
Yeah.
And that's how, you know that you're accomplishing something in the present, while at the same time, working your way to that goal. And it allows you to enjoy the journey a whole lot more.
Right.
Yeah. So Coach is talking about, specifically, and I don't know how much detail we want to give right now, but he's talking about the way that, I would say the youth sports industry or the youth sports structure. Yeah. Parents, coaches, and it trickles down to players too. They are so concerned about, the future of their athletes, the future of their children. They want them to get, they want to be a pro baseball player.
They want to get a scholarship.
They want to get a scholarship. Yeah. They want them to, start varsity as a freshman. They have all these goals for these kids, and there's an obsession around it, and they strive so much to meet that goal that it creates missed opportunities. Is what it does.
It does.
He says in the article, there's no guarantee the future situation will be better than the one in front of you. That really resonated with me. And I tell you when it did. This is me. I think I've told people the story before when my son, actually I probably mentioned on the podcast, I'm not for sure when, but when my son started to play baseball, before he played baseball, everyone would ask me, "Oh, you going to have him play baseball?" And I'd say, "Well, he can play if he wants. It doesn't really matter to me." And they're like, "Oh, he's got to play baseball." And I was like, "No, he don't have to play if he doesn't want to. If he likes it, he can play. If he doesn't, he doesn't have to."
It's a tough thing to say.
Yeah,
as a dad who loves baseball.
Sure.
Yeah,
but
a tough thing to say.
I had great perspective, Coach.
You did
until
he started playing baseball.
Until he started playing. Even when he started playing, I was good because he wasn't that good.
But as soon as he started to grow.
Yeah,
and he already has overtaken you in your stature.
Well, it didn't. It was a lot earlier than that. I can tell you that. He just, but that first time that
your kids are good players.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah,
so are yours.
It could be easy to. Well, and I went through the same thing. You know?
But when they hit that first level of success, they find that success, and it's like, what?
Oh,
wait a second. They did pretty good there.
Maybe I should get them on a more competitive team.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And you miss, but you know where this really hit me during the lockdown of the pandemic last summer when there was no baseball, when we were getting ready for we thought maybe coming around fall we'd be able to play baseball again, and I had my kids, both of them, out in the yard throwing, and there was a relaxed peace. There was a feeling of peace.
You were throwing in the yard without feeling like you were preparing them for something, right? Preparing them for a game or preparing them for.
Well, I knew. I still thought we were preparing. I still thought we were doing something that was beneficial, but I thought we had time.
Yeah.
It wasn't as important.
Yeah.
We didn't have to get ready as quick.
A feeling of urgency there.
Yeah. Right. And you know what I did? I enjoyed it so much more as a dad.
Yeah.
Just we were playing catch. That's a great moment. Being out there, being able to play catch with your son or daughter. Oh man, that's good stuff.
With that being the goal.
Yeah.
Just enjoying that.
Yeah. That's when so this article kind of it smacks me right in the face.
Let's read a little bit of it before we get Coach on. He's going to come on with us here in just a few minutes. But Coach Deegan says this, and this is directly from the article. He says, "I'm concerned with what I see in youth and high school sports. And I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm really not." And he's not a dramatic person. You'll notice that when we have him on. He says, "Why am I so concerned? I'm seeing a culture that focuses so much on the future that the beauty of the present moment is being lost. We are obsessed with the next level. Parents of young children worry if they aren't playing good enough competition, that they won't make the travel team. If they aren't on a great travel team, they won't be prepared for middle school sports. If they don't have a major role on the middle school team, they won't be a star on the high school team. If they aren't a star on the high school team, they won't go D1. If they don't go D1, then they won't sign a pro contract. And he says, this mindset is upsetting to me because every team, every season, every experience has the opportunity to be incredibly special. And I'm going to skip ahead here just a minute because he references something that Butch Chaffin, we also had Butch on, Coach Chaffin, Crooksville High School in Tennessee, legendary coach. He's been in high school baseball. Well, he's been in baseball for over 35 years because he's coached the USA team. He's coached on the collegiate level as well. He's been a professional scout. He's a guy that a lot of coaches tip their hat to, refer to on a lot of things.
And this is why.
And this is why. In his office, there is a sign that states the following. Too many kids have been taught that the goal of high school sports is to achieve an athletic scholarship. Here's the truth. The goal of high school sports is to learn how to be a better person, a better teammate, a better communicator, and to enjoy being a teenager, something that you can never get back. What we're talking about here is be where your feet are.
Yeah.
Be where your feet are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Fulfill your commitment.
Right.
Yep. For sure. That's heavy because you can't get them back. And I think that if you don't recognize that, it's a lesson that you learn. But you learn it too late, right?
Right. And so, the whole reason why you and I have this podcast is to hopefully reach as many people who aren't there yet, right? Their kids are young enough where you can learn from our mistakes, or we can offer a little bit of, hey, you're in there right now.
It's helped me a
I'm
lot.
done.
It really has.
My kids are not playing anymore. And I remember, this is convicting to me because I remember as a dad and also as a coach, having this thought constantly of how can I help these kids get to the next level, right? What are we doing to help them? And it can sometimes consume you to the point where you miss out on what's happening, just like we said. So I'm going to try to bring Coach on here.
Good.
All right. Well,
we haven't been able to connect with Coach here.
Having an issue, I guess, getting Coach connected. So we'll go ahead and we'll talk for him. And if he happens to, we'll keep an eye on the Zoom over there. If he happens to link up, we'll invite.
Or we can bring him on another time or something like that.
Yeah. But either way, he's given us his voice in this article, and so I think we could read more pieces from it, and it could be really beneficial to some folks listening out there. I know there was a quote in here that you took issue with a little bit.
I did, yeah. I did.
You want to tell us what that was?
Sure. It's Coach Deegan mentions a Power 5 head baseball coach tells his players, "You are not going to the big leagues. You're not going to the big leagues." I think.
Right.
I think initially,
Power 5. So college, Power 5 conference in college baseball. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Looks at guys that probably a lot of the guys on his team have aspirations to go play in the big leagues.
Right.
I would guess.
Yeah.
And he tells them, you're not going.
And he tells them you're not going. I think, I don't like absolute statements. So I tend to try to stay away from those, because what happens when one does go?
Right. You lose your credibility.
And I'm sure he has. I'm sure.
Right.
But he's not really saying that. But the other thing is it's
an extreme statement. It's hyperbole.
Yes.
It's hyperbole. Yeah.
Exactly. And I understand that. That was when I don't have a problem with it. When I read it, I was like, "Oh, wait a second.
Right.
Let's go this a different way." And another thing is there's different dynamics in play, because I have spent most of my coaching career, in quotes there, around young people.
Right.
And that's not something that I would tell a young person. I would gather that that's not something that
like a 12-year-old, for example.
Yes,
sure.
Well, you know, what is the benefit of telling a 12-year-old that? There's probably not a lot. There could be if as a coach you find yourself in the same position that this Power 5 coach does, and what he's trying to do with his players, he's trying to focus them on
the
what?
present moment.
On the moment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because if you take care, here's the extension to that. You're not going to the big leagues. You're not going to the big leagues if you don't fulfill your current commitments.
Yeah.
If you don't win today, right? If you're not focused on winning the moment, you're not going to the big leagues, because in order to go to the big leagues, you have to know how to do that. You have to know how to compete. You have to know how to hold up your end of the deal, right? You have to know how to execute your role. You have to know those things. So if you're distracted by this goal, if you're obsessed, or you're distracted,
if you're there for that reason,
or only
if you're
reason.
using if that's a stepping stone for you, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's a good point. You have to, right. It makes it really tough to be good at what you're trying to do.
Sure.
If your focus is just on that, is always on that next step. So yeah, I did, like, when I first read it, I was like, I don't really.
Well, because it's one statement out of context.
Yes.
And the context of that statement is, I think you could add one word to the end of that statement and it would bring in a lot of the context. And that is, you're not going to the big leagues tomorrow.
Right. Yes.
You're here now.
Yes.
So let's focus on this level right now without having that future goal be constantly overshadowing everything that you do.
Yeah.
Discouraging you when you make a mistake. Right? Things like that.
And Coach Deegan even makes a different point, because, the point I'm making here is you can still develop towards that goal, but in order to develop there, you got to focus on today. Coach Deegan is saying, when, he uses the example, a player will say, if I'm sitting the bench, I can't go to the big leagues. Can't go to the big leagues if I'm sitting on the bench. And they lose the lessons. You'll
never experience the lessons of being a role player in a different role if your mindset is only on that one thing.
Yeah. And the lessons that sports bring us.
The relationships, the friendships.
Invaluable.
Regardless of the role. We've talked about that numerous times.
Yes.
Can't count the number of times that we've mentioned things like that.
Yeah.
Here's a quote from the article. It's healthier, more productive, and more rewarding to pour themselves into the present moment. Why pour yourself in the present moment as opposed to playing, practicing, preparing for some future day? Because it's healthier, more productive, and more rewarding. I love that.
In multiple phases. That's the game of baseball. In the game of baseball, oftentimes when we're worried about what happened in the first inning, or worried about what is going to happen in the next inning, we're not focused on what's happening with this next pitch, and that's when bad things happen or continue to happen.
Or we jump ahead in our minds. You get down by 4 runs in the second inning, and you're like, "Ooh, it's going to be hard to come back from this."
Right. Yes.
I mean, I just watched, and they did come back, but they lost. What I tell you on this past Sunday, I said the Bengals are down 24-0 in the second quarter.
Yeah.
It's easy to go, "Ooh, you're not coming back from that."
Right.
And they had a chance.
They made a run. Yeah, they were
24-22. They had a chance to tie it with a 2-point conversion. They did. Yeah.
They did the same thing that was done to them. They scored almost 24 consecutive.
And you do that by focusing on the present moment, controlling what you can control, which is what you do right now, what you're doing right now. And then as people say, the cliche, we chip away, and we get there. We got to remind ourselves, who is this that's writing this article? This is a college coach, a successful college coach, I should say.
Yeah, right.
Someone who's had a lot of success, who I think it's incredible. I think it's awesome to have these words given to us by someone who's coaching at the next level for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Right? The level that a lot of kids are wanting to get to basically say to those kids, hey, you know what? Don't be in such a hurry to get here. Don't be in such a hurry to get here that you miss out on all of the life-giving lessons and experiences that you're going to have in that present moment in high school, in summer ball, in rec ball, whatever. I almost said in travel ball, but I paused for a second because I thought, you know what? The entire system of travel ball is built to do this, to look ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And
and the earlier kids get in it, the more you see that dad with a 10-year-old trying to bounce to a different travel team so he'll have a better opportunity to eventually get exposure when he's 14, 15, 16. And it wears you out.
Yeah. And I would say that's not bad altogether.
Yeah.
I think that's beneficial for people. You know what I mean? I think there's there's kids, there's players that handle that well. I think there's parents that handle that well. And I think there's people that do all that without allowing it to be an obsession and without allowing it, to distract them from what's important of learning to be a good teammate, learning to be a good person.
Yeah.
It's just difficult. I think it's a good thing to say to people to beware of those pitfalls and those challenges that you come across when you're striving so much to get to that next step, to get to that next level.
Right.
You just got to be careful. I think it's just
be mindful of where you are now.
Yeah, and don't pass up on opportunities that mean something to you. Sports is an educational laboratory. I thought that was a great
section of this article.
It was.
Yeah.
And it's a classroom without walls. That's what Coach Deegan says sports are. A classroom without walls, because it gives our players, it gives us as people so many opportunities to learn things that, we can't learn in a classroom maybe. You know what I mean?
Right. It's this when I was talking to Coach Deegan yesterday, about I sent this quote back to him in the article. He says, if there was a course available which would help improve our child's grit, resilience, problem-solving skills, and help them forge long-lasting relationships, we would sign them up for that course and then stay out of the way. That's what sports is.
Yeah.
That's what everything that happens in sports is, including sitting the bench.
Yeah.
Including having a role that maybe you don't like, because you are gaining so much experience, life experience, long-lasting life experience in that. And so many people, let's not even talk about getting to the next level. So many people give up on sports because of some of those lessons, because of some of those things that they miss. He says, your daughter is not in the starting lineup. This is an opportunity to add value in a different role.
Yeah.
Add value in a different role, an opportunity to display grit and continue to working hard to try to compete and earn that spot. Your son's coach is completely unreasonable.
You're never gonna face unreasonable people in life.
No, never. What an opportunity to get some reps dealing with difficult people.
Yeah, bad teammates was another examples of bad team. I think failure is the big one.
It is.
We automatically jump to how do we fix it? What's wrong with you? Other than what happened and how do we deal with it?
Right. What about not getting chosen for a team? Try out for a travel team and you don't make it, or you get cut from your school team, right? Maybe that's life's way of seeing that if this is something that you really want to do, your child's really good at it, really wants to do. There are benefits to that. There are things that it's hard when you're going through it.
Sure.
But then it gives you an opportunity to say, okay, to maybe find that thing that you really are passionate about and really are good about, or really are good at. You may be passionate about the thing that you just got cut from too.
Sure.
But you can have a lot of passion for something and just be not very good at it.
True. Right? Or it's just not really a good fit, or it's not.
I would love to be a lot better guitar player than I am. I just play chords. I just strum chords. That's all I can do.
You're pretty good at it.
But there's passion there, just not very well. There's not practice. You got to put more practice in there to get. You got to work at it to get better.
And that maybe that's the lesson that you take away, right?
Exactly.
There you go.
Right.
And maybe the next year,
I could be Eddie Van Halen if I really put the
maybe
effort
I
into
don't
it.
know about the next year, but I have faith in you, Coach. You might be able to get there.
There you go. Well, here's the thing. I got a son though that picks up a guitar and just does whatever he wants with it.
Oh, really?
It's crazy. It's easy for him.
I think
Some people
do that.
Yeah, he'll watch. I'll say, hey, can you play the lead to this part right here? And he'll be like, oh, let me hear it. And he'll listen to it and he'll go, he'll find it.
That's amazing.
It is.
I can't even comprehend
it's
that.
wild. Yeah.
I don't know anything about music or singing.
But
no one sits around me in church.
If you guys want to see a video, go on the Bradbury Church of Christ's Facebook page and scroll down, and you'll see Pat leading worship.
That's
They
right.
had that shotgun microphone there.
Yeah,
You're the only one we can hear.
Oh boy,
I had that up on the big screen that one day back during the.
I forgot about that. You do. You could hear yourself up there as the only person as well. So it was very interesting. Yeah.
Sports is an educational classroom. I mean, think of it that way. Right now, everything that you deal with, right? Poor officiating. That's out of your control. It gives you a chance to deal with things that are out of your control. You know, so how do I deal with things that are out of my control?
Right.
Mean fans.
Yeah.
A chance to keep your composure, right?
Yeah.
Learn how to keep your composure whenever someone's being unfair to you.
Yeah.
Making fun of you.
Right.
Right? Don't be such a victim so often. You're not a victim.
Well, you deal with that by
Deal
going.
with it.
You go to Facebook, don't you? And complain
That's how you
about
deal with it, right? Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, this is that's probably there's probably an element of safetyism to this. Right. Of preventing our kids from facing danger. And the negative side effects of allowing that to happen.
removing them from that so that they don't have to deal with it.
So this is kind of the opposite of safetyism, and then an extension to it of how do we make this a good situation? How do we benefit from this situation?
Yeah.
How can we learn from it? How does this make us stronger? I've leaned on my sports experience so many times in my life, so many times.
Absolutely.
Probably so much that people would say, "Yeah, right." That's not true, but it does.
You've leaned on it more than you even realize.
Absolutely.
I mean, on a conscious level sometimes, but most of the time on a subconscious level.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Every experience in life prepares you for the other experiences that are going to come, and the way we respond to experiences in life prepare us for the ways we're going to respond in the future. And you don't stop and necessarily think about all those; you just do it.
Yep.
Because you were impacted in a way that educated you on the next time. It is. It's a classroom without walls, and there's just more reward than future reward when it comes to sports. There's more reward. Well, it's more than just an external future reward. There's reward within it right now that you will be able to use later as well, but just not in a way that you might be thinking.
For sure.
When you're in it.
Yeah. So think about it. Focus on that.
Exactly.
How am I going to be able to use this later? That's a statement for the player and the parent.
It is.
And a lot of times.
And the
mostly
coach.
for the player. And the coach.
I sent this yesterday to my assistant coaches, and I said, you could tell they read it in about 10 minutes, and they all replied back, wow, that's, And one of them has a player in the program, and he said, this was good for me. I said, well, it was good for me too. Yeah. It's good for me even now, not having kids in the program, because I still will refer to the next, hey, if you want to get the kids in the weight room. I got a kid that hasn't been coming to the weight room, but he wants to play in college. You know what I told him? You're not going to play in college because you're going to be in the weight room all the time in college. If you don't get used to it now, if you don't fall in love with it now, and and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad lesson to teach a kid, but sometimes I go there first. Mm-hmm. I go to the future first, as opposed to, why I want you here? Because I want to win now.
Yeah.
I want you here now. I want this program to set a standard for how we want things done now. And let's, and get in here, and there's so much more that happens when you're together and you're working and the relationships are being built and all the things that you do. It's not just, I don't necessarily just want kids in there working out thinking about with every rep on the squat, I'm closer to that college scholarship. I'm closer to that college scholarship. I don't think that's going to be nearly as motivating as what's going on right here, right now.
Sure.
Heck, just the whole idea of working out and lifting is a microcosm or a metaphor for this point, this theme that we're talking about, this subject. And that is, if you want to be strong, and that's a future goal that you have, you will become more discouraged if you keep thinking about that day when you picture yourself a lot more buff than you are now, and rather than focusing on what you've got to do today.
Right. Or if another example would be if you're comparing yourself to what other guys in the weight or other girls in the weight room are lifting.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I'm not lifting.
I'm not where they are.
I'm not where they are.
Yeah.
You're not focused on that. You're on your 5x5 that day.
Yeah.
Right. All you got to do is get your stuff. You'll keep building. You'll get there.
Yeah.
But in order to get there, you got to take these steps. You got to do what you got to do.
You got to stay in that present moment and get that done. Get today's work done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there was a course where we knew that our kids, I mean, right here, we're in a college setting. If there were a course that you could enroll kids into where you knew it would help them improve grit and resilience and problem-solving skills, and it would give them long-lasting relationships inside all the people in that course working together, and they would develop a lot of friendships there. And it was almost like you could almost bill it that way. You could say, look, we're guaranteeing this. We're guaranteeing these things are going to happen. We'd be like, you got to take that course. It'd be the most popular course on campus.
Yeah,
right?
It would be.
That is what playing a team sport can be for your child.
Yep.
Regardless of whether they're the first man in the starting lineup, the sixth man off the bench, or they don't ever get off the bench. Regardless of where they are, that's what that experience can be.
Because it's an experience, one way or another. Regardless of what it is, it's an experience. An experience is education. Yeah. Coach Deegan says, what if we embraced all the highs and lows which sports can provide as an opportunity to help the growth and development of our kids? Embrace the highs and the lows. The highs and the lows, and that's the key to that. And we can do that.
It's hard to do that.
It is hard. It's hard, but you know what? It's a little bit easier if you talk about it. It's a little bit easier if you hear it. It's a little bit easier if you think about it. If you're thinking about it day to day, if you're thinking about it as you go watch your kids play, as you're coaching, as you're playing, it gets easier as you go if you're focused on if you're intentional about doing what you set out to do. So
sports dad, sports mom, bookmark this episode.
Yeah.
Right, hit the little star button.
Listen to
and
it
go back and listen to it, and be reminded. It gets easier the more you hear it, the more you're able to go. Okay, I can do this. I
really
can do this. That's why you and I are here, right? We're here for the people.
I'll be honest with you. I'm here for me.
Right.
That's what I learned about this coach. I told someone this earlier today that hearing my voice in these headphones in this podcast studio, just hearing me talk, and then hearing that recording, when we go
later
back and listen to an episode, it's very convicting. Yeah. And you put yourself up on a ledge and say, this is what I believe in. This is how I'm going to behave. And then when you don't, boy, it's a stark reminder.
It is.
Like, wow, better fix that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you start. Like I said, you think about it more. So you're focused on it more, and you're geared to fixing things and behaving in a way that you think is more beneficial. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. We're here sharing failures so that other people can benefit from them too. But I use this stuff daily as well, and it's
me too.
Yeah, it's been very. I think it's part of the fun.
It is
something that I enjoy about doing the podcast with you. So
and listen. Oh, thank you. We have people listening to your voice every day. I was looking at the analytics this past week, and rarely does a day go by that we don't have someone listening to the Coaching Life podcast. Do you know that?
Yeah, I saw that.
I would have never thought that. I mean, we're not an extremely popular podcast.
No,
we don't promote it like we should. probably, right? We don't do sponsorships. We don't get help promoting it. If we wanted to do that, we probably could gain more listeners that way.
Right. I've had some people tell me that
just a little side
that
gig
we
for us.
should.
Have you really?
Yeah. It's almost, it should be a duty, part of our duty to do that, because more people need to hear some of the things.
Well, and
that
some
we
of
talk
that's
about.
probably true.
Maybe.
To be real honest. I mean, it feels weird to do that because you want to stay humble.
Yeah.
But you also, you don't want to have a false humility. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
True.
You want to share. If it's a good thing, we should share it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, good news is good news, and people need to hear it.
Yeah. I guess
you don't want to hold it to
coaching
yourself.
that, 95% of the things that you coach, you steal from other coaches. So.
Right. And so, well, there's something really cool about a baseball coach, and you won't hear very many baseball coaches holding everything that they do close to the vest and keeping it from others. And that's what you're gonna see when you go to these clinics. You'll be amazed at the coaches clinic in Columbus of the kinds of depth, the kinds of material that these coaches share. And I'm talking the college coaches, the high school coaches that you're going to be playing against, the professional coaches. Everybody wants you to have all of their good stuff. Because they want to help, because here's the thing about baseball coaches: they want to help the game. It's all about the game.
Yeah.
We want the game to be as good as it can possibly be, and so I have no secrets that I'm going to keep from you. I want you. If I've got a really beneficial way that I teach my kids how to field a ground ball, then I want to share that with as many people as possible because it benefits the game. There's something really special about that. That's why I say it's the greatest fraternity in the world. That's why I say it's the greatest sport in the world, because I don't know, maybe other coaches do that as well. Maybe the football clinic's like that also, but I've heard that it's not.
Yeah.
I've heard that the relationship building, the brotherhood, it might be with your own staff, but it's not with everybody. I mean, you might go to the baseball clinic with your own staff, but I guarantee you won't just hang out with just your own staff. There is so much mingling, so much sharing of ideas and information, and so much just here. You take what I've got and you use it. I've had coaches. I've asked for college coaches before to send me like their own, they'll give a presentation with videos. And I'll say, hey, how much do those videos cost? I'd like to buy them from you. Oh no, bro, give me your email. I'll send them to you. Keith Vorhoff, a handful of years ago, catcher's coach at UK. He's like, yeah, send me your email. I got emails. I got a lot of my Google Drive account that's taking up space is videos from him. And Coach Strickland's the same way. It is really, really incredible. And I think whoever told you that is right. We probably should look into that a little bit. That could be our 2022 goal, maybe to see how we can get this word out there a little bit better.
Yeah.
If we're ever going to retire from doing this, I mean, from our regular jobs, so that we can just do this, then
right.
we better get started on that pretty quick.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. ESPN hasn't called yet, so.
We're too big for ESPN. Who wants to work for ESPN?
The Coaching Life Network.
We're too honest for ESPN. How about that?
We don't have the hot takes.
That's right.
Yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed our conversation today.
Yeah, and it's too bad we couldn't get Coach on to talk about it himself. But maybe, like you said, maybe we can follow up and get him on, here soon.
Sure.
When we have a little better luck with connecting with him. But thank you for the article. If you're listening,
definitely.
Coach, thank you for that. Just like what Coach Martin and I were just talking about here. We appreciate that you're one of those coaches that you just open yourself up like an open book, and you share everything that you have learned, everything that you're doing, so that others might benefit from it. And there's great value in that, not just for coaches but for humanity.
Definitely.
So yeah, thank you.
See you next week.